Welcome to the May 13th, 2025 State Council meeting, 6:30, the Lowell City Council Chamber. Start with the prayer. Dear God, today's session opens. We pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make a better place to live and work. Amen. Would you join us in the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Rourke.
Here.
Council Scott.
Here.
Council Yem.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Chow.
Here.
Council Dakota. Council Gitchia.
Here.
Council Janess.
Here.
Council Mercier.
Here.
Council Noon.
Here.
10 present.
A moment of silence this evening. Moving on, Mayor's Business, Section 2, 2.1, communication for remote Zoom participation. Motion to accept the place on file by Council Belanger, second by Council Janess. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Also in the Mayor's Business this evening, we have two events. One honoring our Veteran of the Month, and another one we're going to talk about in a minute, Hometown Heroes. If I could have Mr. Lamache please come up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Lowell Veterans Commission has, for the past 5 or 6 years, been nominating a Veteran of the Month, or Veterans Recognition Program, and tonight we were honored to award that recognition to Mr. Jack Sullivan, a veteran here in Lowell. Would you like to come up here and just say a couple of words?
And before Mr. Sullivan speaks, not only do we honor him this evening as our Veteran of the Month, but he has also been an integral part of Lowell and its progress over the number of years with his engineering company and some of the buildings and architecture that he has designed for the city of Lowell. So, Mr. Sullivan, it's not only an honor to honor you for your veteran service, but we thank you for your service to the city of Lowell as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, council members. I really owe so much to the city of Lowell. As I said earlier, the current administration and councilors, but also the previous ones. I've been doing architectural practice in the city for over 45 years. I love the city of Lowell. I love the way it works, and hopefully going to continue to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Also, this evening, this is a program that was put in place a couple of years ago. It's Lowell's Hometown Heroes that honors our veterans and their service to this, our country, but with Lowell roots. So let's take a moment to read off this year's Hometown Heroes. We have Lenaro Berube, Cormac Kiernan, Kenny Pop, James Roger, Eugene Vale, the Page Brothers, John Chapman, Sundara Nath, and Stephen Boder.
Mr. Mayor.
Eric, if you just come up and just explain the program on May 23rd. We have another event coming up as well.
Sure. I already have the applications ready for next year for the Hometown Heroes banners. If anyone's interested in nominating or putting an application out there, my office is in the Senior Center. My phone number 978-674-1595. I'd be happy to start right off on that, getting them ready for next year. And next week on the 23rd, 10 a.m. outside in the right in front of the police station where the flags are at, we'll be having a Memorial Day service, and these new banners will be erected. And we have the ROTC students, a couple hundred ROTC students, and we also have 2 4th grade classes coming to sing for everybody. So I think it's going to be very nice. So everyone's welcome. So please come on out.
Eric, thank you very much. If we could have Jack, please come up for take a picture with the council, and then we'll have those who are honoring the Hometown Heroes come up right afterwards.
1, 2, 3.
No.
The
Yeah.
pages?
He said no, he can't. Rita. I told Rita yes, but it's no. He can't get out. Rita. I just don't want her to advertise. He's not, Bob can't make it. But I,
We're gone. We're still taking a public hearing for Market Street.
We got it. You want to be in the picture? Come in a little closer. There you go. All right. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. Wait, one more. Amazing.
Leslie, the photo is in Bahama, his son's wedding.
I beg your pardon?
The photo is in Bahama, his son's
Son's
wedding.
wedding, yes.
Absolutely.
Corey Belanger's taking over. Hey, you've never met. No, I'm a fan of yours. Wicked.
Moving on, Section 3, City Clerk, 3.1, minutes of the Neighborhood Finance Joint Subcommittee, May 6th. City Council regular meeting, May 6th, for acceptance. Motion to accept the face on file by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Yem. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Not being 7 o'clock yet, we'll skip the general public hearing. 5, City Council motions, 5.1, Councilor Robinson. Request City Manager have the proper department explore the installation of no parking signs on 20th Street off of Beacon, seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. This is pretty self-explanatory. I guess the resident is dealing with issues first in the snow regarding snow removal and different things, and now there's been some missed trash pickup, so anything we could do, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.2, Councilor Robinson. Request City Manager have the proper department provide a suitable alternative location for Roberto Clemente Baseball League, seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I've been in communication with members of the league, and I've been told basically the city's been working great with them. I've spoken to a member of the Board of Parks as well, so they're trying to help accommodate. The only concern that they're having, from what I gather, is at North Common, it was an uphill battle to try to get restroom facilities over there, and the alternative locations don't have them. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to try to help with that. But outside of that, they said it's been great. Bleachers have been fixed timely, and there's no complaints outside of that. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.3, Councilor Robinson. Request City Manager have the proper department provide a detailed overview of all development projects permitted and completed in the past 12 months with a district with map. Seconded by Councilor Yem. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. The conversation around housing it has constantly been at the forefront. I think this is a good way to show, with a map of by district, how much housing, whether it's private, public, either way, has been created in the past, say, 12 months citywide. I know I was surprised myself to see we've had over 132, I think it is, additional units of housing, all different types, in Centerville alone. So I'd like to see what that looks like on an entire city view. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.4, Councilor Robinson. Request city manager provide suggestions on pathways to improve communication between developers and residents regarding development projects placed in neighborhoods. Second by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I've had quite a bit of residents in Centerville especially reach out about the apple orchard project. And I know it's a no approval required situation, but I think for residents that live especially next to that area, to see it go from vegetation to cleared out almost overnight, and they kind of got caught by surprise. So any kind of recommendation moving forward to where we can at least open that channel of communication and kind of inform residents as to what the project looks like step by step, I think that'd be greatly appreciated. I look forward to that response. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.5, Councilor Belanger. Request city manager provide an update on construction of training facility at Colley Stadium Martin Athletic Complex. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have constituents inquiring as to with all the activity going on at Colley Stadium, which is good, the underground storage tank. But the focus as of late has been on as to where we were at with the planning and design phase of the new training facility at Colley Stadium, which will include locker rooms, a training facility, a coach's room, concession stand, which is much needed in that facility. It's going to be a great addition. So nonetheless, just looking for an update, and so I could pass along to my constituents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.6, Councilor Belanger. Request city manager provide an update on the proper departments on the 2018 ADA transition plan for city buildings. Second by Councilor Janess. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is at the behest of the Disability Commission, which I sit for monthly meetings, and these members are concerned to see where we're at with this transition plan that's, I guess, been lingering for quite some time, as you can see in the title, 2018, to our city buildings. This addresses the ADA deficiencies in our city buildings, one of which, the big one, was the bathrooms here at City Hall, which are complete. So that's we can check that box. However, some are as small as simply as paper towel dispensers need to be lowered. I mean, some of them are very, very minor in scope, but nonetheless, let's get it done for this population. The Disability Commission is very concerned, and I want to provide answers for them. So looking for an update. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 6, communications from the city manager. 6.1, motion response. A, install a convex mirror, Lakeview Ave and Ferry Lane. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Greatly appreciated. This was brought by a resident over there, and they frequently use that area. And they said it's tough to see kids walking, and it's a high pedestrian foot traffic area. So greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Motion response B, hawkers and peddlers license. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. This is something I think, I hope we can take a look at. The process itself, I just think with so much investment in reentry in a lot of these situations, for example, I've spoken to the Bridge Club, and they just begin their first classes for a reentry program with culinary, getting people their serve safe and OSHA certifications to enter that field, kind of get people back on their feet. If people potentially could be held back from a previous record, is there a way that maybe we could talk to the chief in the police department and see, is there a way to establish maybe a pilot program that part of the requirement for the chief to sign off on awarding a hawker and peddler license is the person, whatever the threshold the police feel comfortable signing off on, maybe they attend programming similar to like the Bridge Club where they get their serve safe in OSHA, because we're going to invest to train people to enter into this field and get on their feet as part of a reentry, but yet once they're trained and ready to re-enter into the business field for themselves, they can be denied the application or the permit for that. So I think anything we can do to take a look at this would be greatly appreciated.
Councilor Gitche, good.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Through you to Manager Golden, do we know how many we give out each year?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Ms. May, through to the council. I don't have the exact number in front of me. It's something we could find out. And, you know, it's reasonable to consider there's wide latitude, and maybe there's a couple of ideas we can take from this to find out if there is indeed a situation that would allow someone to make that, you know, that money that you're talking about. And that's something I can talk to the superintendent about.
My thought is how, I just would love to see those numbers over the last 3 years, a breakdown each year, because if there's only 5 we give out in the community, how much do we spend doing this? If there's 1,500, then we have an issue. And how many people are actually getting away with doing it without even getting a license? So those are the kind of questions before we dive too deep into something that may not have any value.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's a very small amount of people who do take advantage of this. With the broad authority that the chief has, throughout this process, we discussed things like letters of recommendation, perhaps from different, whether it was a program that you were just describing that could, provide some detail as to why this particular individual, the chief might want to look at in a different light, even if they do have a certain type of record, they've been in some level of trouble that if the chief didn't otherwise know, it might just be in sort of an automatic denial. So I think there are ways that we can get the chief information to help him make his decision in certain cases, because obviously every situation isn't going to be the same. So I think that would probably be one of the best places to start. And I can certainly get the numbers on how many. It's not very many, but still.
Through you to city manager, what would you recommend? Maybe taking this back and come back with a little bit more information and see what would be the course of action recommended to maybe facilitate something, as was just mentioned, where it would be a discretionary call and there is a process in place that both the police and the administration feel comfortable about kind of putting down in writing for people to have a fighting shot. And it's not about a matter of how many numbers or how much as we're seeing this is being funded from a state level in the form of grants, and there is going to be a push to get people back into this field. And again, most people can't afford a brick and mortar restaurant. So if somebody's on the path to rehabilitation, no trouble for 10 years applies for our hawkers and peddlers because they want to open a food cart and they're denied because of the 10-year-old record. Is there a mechanism that we can help work with this person to alleviate that hurdle and give them an opportunity to work in the community?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, we can leave it as is, and we're just going to respond again as to if there is the way to do this. And you had mentioned a couple of local agencies, if there's the ability for us to find a way to get to yes on that. So that's if that's okay with you, we can just, I have the assistant city manager writing it down. We'll just find out how to get to yes and find out, what possibly could be asked of the applicant to go above and beyond, I guess, if there was a problem in their past. I mean, in some instances, we've seen this, especially with reentry. This is something that may have happened 10, 12 years ago, or, decades. So it's something we can look at and see if the superintendent would be comfortable with doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to respond C, Appleton Street, Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whenever rules are made, it's a three-part process. First, you make the rule, and if there's no signage to this rule, such as Appleton Street, then people don't know that there's a rule that exists. So I want to thank the sign shop, John Cooper, Liz Altman, for having the signage already there. I'm very grateful, because before I made the motion, there was no signage. So the next step is enforcement. So that's the third step. First, there's a rule, then there's knowledge to alert people, and then if it's not followed, then it's, we have to ticket people if they're not paying attention. But anyway, so enforcement is very important, but I'm most grateful that the signage is there. Thank you so much.
Motion to response D, Starbird Street, Councilor Getchia.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Through you to Manager Golden, thank you again to the city transportation engineer. I think it's important that we look, just because we're putting speed bumps in one area, sometimes it speeds up other areas, because once people get over the bumps, people step on the gas even further. So Starbird's kind of in that hit area once they go over. If there's any way we can move forward with trying to get to District 4 and try to get them to come up and putting do not enter signs and try to do some sidewalk work over there to try to mitigate some of the heavy traffic. Thank you.
Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Yes, Councilor, in talking to Ms. Altman, that is in process right now with District 4. And for the edification of the listeners, District 4 is Mass DOT.
Motion response E, HCID, Councilors Gittia, Robinson, and Belanger.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I do appreciate the response from DPD and the administration. But look, I'm extremely pleased at where we're at the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. In the last, I'm going to say 8-9 months, there's been a lot of activity, a lot of negotiations, in some cases entering into MOUs. Very positive, no doubt about it. But, you know, important thing is shovels in the ground. So I do, at the same time, I want to applaud and appreciate all the efforts of the administration and planning and development on this. It's been a long time coming. You know, it is the height of budget season, and the first thing that comes to mind is new growth. And this is where it's at. The homeowners need relief. There is a tremendous amount of new tax revenue at this parcel that we need to take advantage of. So just a friendly reminder, great work, but nonetheless, at the same time, keep the foot on the gas pedal with these potential developers to get shovels in the ground as fast as humanly possible. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Once again, through you to the council. Council is some of this information you've already known, and this has been something that's been ongoing. But I thought it was extremely relevant to the discussion that we'll be having later on tonight in executive session. So this is really leading up to yet another success that this council knows about, and with the hope of the discussion tonight, we'll be moving forward in the future. So it is older information, but it's relevant for this evening's discussion in executive session.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Councilor Gittia?
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Everyone knows that I was disappointed with more housing down there before business, and I don't think shovels in the ground is just an approach. I think that we have to have planning, and we need businesses in the city that actually pay people a fair wage so that they can afford things in the city, because at this point, we are very, very low on the percentage of money per resident capita versus the cost. And we're like 13th lowest in the country, in the state on that. So we have to somehow drive that up instead of just putting people in places and not be able to afford. So I'm thankful for the report, but I do think we need to push more businesses in, try to get that people paid a fair wage. We have an education system where people are educated enough to stay here, as UMass Lowell did the link, and that's why they did that, is they put places in there that their students actually could go to work for. So, and I think that that's where we need to go the driver towards, is trying to keep the people who are educated in our city so that we can start to afford some of these bills that are coming in. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson, anything? Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Managers, particularly Giovanni Byroses, for the work that you've done with the Cabot and Fork. Now that we have a new LDA, I urge that the department is giving council every quarter updated as to what's going on, so that to see whether or not they're missing any, timeline that we agree with them on. And I'm very excited that, as you said, Mr. Manager, is that going to the executive session tonight, that we learned something that is of importance for the city in terms of tax revenue to the city. Not just for housing, but this is for businesses come to the city. Businesses of bigger magnitude. Businesses that, branching from link projects to the Hamilton Canal District. This is something that we really wanted as tax basis for the city going forward. Thank you for the report.
Motion response F. State delegations file petition, special language, adoption, prohibit second generation rodenticides. Councilor Gittia, there you go.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'm hoping that's the last time Mayor Rourke has to do that to himself, because maybe next week I'll put in a motion just so he has to do it again. It's definitely amusing. Thank you again, Mayor Rourke and Manager Golden.
Motion response G. HR 540, Congresswoman Trahan and state delegation. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Very well written. Thank you to the administration, and I'm sure our dispatchers appreciate this as well. So anything we can do to help, I'm sure, no brainer. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes, very quickly. Those two letters are magnificent. I'm very impressed. They should listen to us because of those letters. Thank you.
I wrote them, Councilor, so yeah.
Oh, did you?
What's response H? State cleanup around River, Meadow Brook, and Freeman Trail. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for co-sponsoring the motion with me. So multiple people had reached out about this area, especially when the boats, the campers, and the propane tanks started showing up along the bike trail. So I'm really thankful for the response, and we look forward to the area being cleaned up. Thank you.
Councilor Getcha.
Mayor Rook, through you to Manager Golden, I know that you had spoken with them. Have they set a timeline on how soon they'll do it? Because meetings are not really very productive if there's no timeline on what they're going to do. And that's really what our question is, how soon can they do it?
Mr. Machado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I haven't heard anything. I sent an email today asking for an update to see where we're at, and I'll keep you posted.
I have a feeling you're going to be sending a lot of emails back and forth.
Bush response I, letter to delegation of Mass DOT for noise barriers. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks again for the response. I look forward to the response from Mass DOT on what next steps we can take.
Mr. Robinson.
I'd like to thank my colleague for following this and thank the administration for the response. I know this was brought up quite some time ago as well along the VFW in the area of the St. Louis Park, because we had some complaints from the residents that live on the opposite side of the park from the VFW highway, and I'd be curious to see what noise mitigation or noise barriers, whether it's natural or not, whatever they come back with, recommendations. Thank you.
7 o'clock, we'll head to the general public hearing, 4.1, a loan order for 40 Market Street. Can we pull from the agenda and add it on to a later date for the first reading? By Councilor Getcha, second by Councilor Janess. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 6.2, information report, FY 2026 budget introduction for the city manager. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, and thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for the start of the fiscal year 2026 budget discussion. Thank you to the City Council for all of their help and their hard work through the year to help us formulate this budget and this document. Thank you to all the employees that make our city better every single day. A special thank you to my 28 department heads and my assistant city managers who run the day-to-day operations. And I would like to say a huge shout out to my finance department, who has been, quite frankly, Lowell's fiscal hounds, making sure that they're really staying on top of everything that's happening throughout the state and the federal government. They've been working on this since the end of January, watching the federal and the state process, really watching the ebbing and the flowing, and quite frankly, still watching it. Tonight, I would like to present my fourth budget to the council as well as to the citizens of Lowell. For the edification of the listeners, our total budget is $617,355,830. That's an increase of 5.9% from last year. I'd like to touch upon some of the challenges for our future, but I want to emphasize the positive momentum that this council and this administration has achieved. As I'd stated, in speaking about our finances, I don't think we could have a finer person at the helm than our CFO and our assistant CFO, Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Ball. But the two main takeaways this particular year, if you could think about this, there was a day in Lowell at one time that we had a rainy day account, or a very small rainy day account. I'm proud to say that today, given that everything that's going on, from fiscal year 2022, we had $13.9 million. Today's balance is 17.1. This has been done with proper financial planning, and this will pay future dividends. The second piece that I think is most important when you're talking about finance is decreasing our reliance on our one-time funds from our stabilization account. Why should we do that? Because it makes good financial sense. In fiscal year 2022, we were borrowing upwards of $3.5 million from ourselves, which is a practice that this council and this administration aims to stop. Today, we are only borrowing $2.8 million. Some will say that we should stop this today. However, that action would create an increase to the taxpayer with no fiscal benefits when you really look forward. The appropriate way to wean ourselves off this would be a slow and steady approach with a soft landing so the taxpayers wouldn't be hit all at once. Both of these moves, from a financial standpoint, are simply smart. Given the fact of what's going on today with our state and our federal government, these decisions will offer some protection for our future. I want to be clear, not completely protect us, but it'll offer some protection from the uncertainty of what's happening throughout the federal and the state agencies and the budgets that they are dealing with. We, today, here in the city of Lowell, must prepare for this future uncertainty. The above will prove to the financing world that we're taking this serious, that Lowell's bond rating is a sound investment for people and worth investing in. Moody's recognized that this year when they upgraded our rating. That move lowered our borrowing costs and our overall costs. It's interesting when we talk about the budget as a whole, and as I stated, the actual number in the front, it comprises of approximately $617 million. And breaking that down, all of our enterprise accounts are deducted from that 617. $64 million from water, wastewater, as well as parking. Salaries and wages for the 1,000+ employees just on the city side is approximately $90 million. The school department is set to receive $271 million. Our charter school assessment as of today, and I do say as of today because it's fluctuating left and right, is $49 million. Our health insurance, which we received once again double-digit increases, is $31 million. The general debt that we pay for the new high school and other projects that we have going on is to the tune of $20 million. Greater Lowell Tech, 9.6. Trash is $8 million. Heat, electricity for all buildings is 5.6. The cherry sheets allotments for the LRTA school choices, $3.5 million, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The remaining money that we have is approximately $18 million. With our mission to keep quality services while stretching every dollar, this discretionary spending, the approximately $18 million, is for expenses for 25 out of 28 of our departments. And when people are at home right now, I know the council knows this because we've talked about it at length. What are these expenses? These expenses are what you see practically every day. The expenses for vehicles, for gas in those vehicles, the contracted services that we have, the operating expenses, repairs on equipment, repairs on vehicles, etc. In order to balance our budget, we had to cut salaries. We had to bring some salaries into the quote-unquote $1 range, and we've cut the above portion budgeted 2 times. What does that mean? We've been watching this, as I've been saying, that Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Ball have been watching this closely, the challenges that the city has. We've had to go back into this fund and cut it 2 times to make sure that we had a balanced budget this evening. I am concerned. I'm extremely concerned that the line items above in that $18 million, that we may need to transfer money at a later date. What I'm proposing this evening is a 2.5% increase to the tax levy, 6% increase on water, and a 15% increase on sewer. Everybody here knows that the problem with the EPA lawsuit that we have before us, and many of us know exactly what that's going to cost. There are no other fee increases proposed in this budget. In order to keep the tax levy at 2.5%, I propose being more aggressive in estimating revenue, and every councilor knows that is against my conservative nature. I would tend to want to see more revenue come in. We need to continue to prepare for what I feel as though is going to be a very, very bumpy fiscal year 2026. The time to prepare is now, and I believe this city budget does that. It is important to note that every single department asked for an increase that we simply cannot fund inside of this budget. This city council has been unwavering in their support for increasing revenue through taxes and fees over the years. They have taken difficult votes to ensure the quality of services has increased across the city in all departments. This budget will build upon the fiscal year 2025 accomplishments, which this council was there writing. 311, 11 million in sidewalk, road, and bridge, encumbering all ARPA funds, creation of sustainability, which quite frankly brought us $21 million in grants. And these are just to name a few items. The budget before you, most importantly, is balanced. That is the key. That is our responsibility, to bring to you a balanced budget. But it is going to continue to push bold ideas, efficiencies, but most importantly, action. Action that has been waiting. The implementation of water and wastewater utility into a single integrated utility has been talked about for over 5 to 6 to 7 years. This will streamline operations and improve public health, and will lead to cost savings and opportunities. The creation of a long-awaited facilities department, which will start at Lowell High School and provide a comprehensive strategy to grow this concept throughout our entire organization. We're going to be working towards the continued reorganizations of DPW that will further streamline efficiencies and optimize operations to bring a better outcome for the citizens of Lowell. The continued investments in this budget book, in our capital needs, is going to push for more than $1 million in ADA requirements, over $5.5 million for increased paving, $6 million for upgrades to our firehouses, $1 million to our Lowell Memorial Auditorium for our veterans, that'll be added upon the $2 million that we've already been spending in the last 12 months. Over $14 million in school projects that are not only important to the students and the teachers to make sure that things are happening which I think are vitally important. It's one of the things that I had heard 3 years ago. When it comes to heat, when it comes to air conditioning, when it comes to things just not working properly, when it comes to leaking roofs, this $14 million is there to help that. And of course, over $3 million in garage maintenance, things that have been pushed off. These are only some of the pieces that are before you today for your consideration. This is our 2026 budget. It'll be challenging. It will be difficult at times throughout this year, but it is bold. It will continue to move our city in the direction that this council has truly pushed. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your consideration as we deliberate over the next 2 weeks, and I thank you very much. This has now been filed as an appropriate in order, as well as in budget, excuse me, on timely. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, do you have registered speakers?
Oh, we do, Mr. Mayor. Liam Skinner.
Good evening, City Manager, Mayor, and City Council members. I am Liam Skinner, Superintendent of Schools, proud Lowell resident. The school department did not ask for an increase in our budget this year. The vast majority of our funds to our schools comes from the state. Our budget is roughly $271 million for fiscal 26. We get typically a very small increment from the city. The state, when it gives us the majority of our funding, requires the city to contribute to what's called net school spending. For next fiscal year, net school spending is $68.9 million. That's how much the city has to contribute to the schools. As is customary, the vast majority of that is given in what's called maintenance of effort. The city employees repair our schools, plow our driveways in the winter, and so on. And a small proportion is given in cash to the school department. When I say a small proportion, in recent history, it's been over 30%. In the last 3 years, it was just 22%. When we went into budgeting this year at the central office, we began with a very conservative start. And we anticipated, what if the city continues to give us just 22%? That, by the way, would come to $14.9 million in city cash. We had 14 million last year. The budget before you tonight does not give 14.9 million, which I would argue is not meeting our values in Lowell and what we believe in and what's practical for our city. It didn't give the 14 million that was given last year. It's proposing to give us $10 million. I need the council to understand there are practical implications of that, and there are moral implications of that. Not least because 53 of our staff will lose their job, will lose their livelihood. And not least because our most needy students will lose those services as those people provide, and more. When we budgeted this year with a conservative amount of city cash similar to last year, we already budgeted to reduce services. We cut somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million, and we deliberately cut it from central office. And we level service to schools. When we found out that we were short by between $4 and $5 million, we had to reduce at schools as well. If you let me, please, I want to give a little bit of context. I'm a really proud superintendent, and I'm incredibly proud of the staff in our schools. They do incredible work. It's not just great work, it's heroic work that our staff does. Because, unlike other communities, we have about 1/3 of our students who are learning English as they're learning their other subjects. We have over 10% of our students are homeless. Can you imagine that? In every classroom, 1 in 10 students homeless. It was about 7% this time last year. It's up over 10% now. More than 1/5 of our students are special education students, some of them with great needs. This is a moral issue and a practical issue. As proud as I am, and as proud as I am of our staff, there was a time 20 years ago when I felt shame and embarrassment. A Boston Globe reporter wrote a story comparing the school library at my school and the school library at Wellesley Middle School. And we were about the same size, same number of students. And when he went into Wellesley Middle School, he described the plush surroundings, the wonderful furniture, of course, a fabulous collection of books. 2005, right? It was during the Iraq War. Iraq was being blown to bits, and there was sectarian violence and all the rest. And the reporter in the Wellesley Library picked up a little pamphlet for middle school students explaining the background about what was happening in Iraq and explaining, what sectarian violence means and so on. When he came to the daily school, sparse book, collection, he actually found a book on Iraq. The book I'll never forget. It's called Iraq, the Enchanted Land. It was from 1956. That's an indicator of what we had in our school at that time. If we were talking about a movie, we would roll it now, and we would get together and we'd furnish the schools with all the books that they need and so on from 2005 and build them up. You know what we did in Lowell? We eliminated, a couple of years later, budget cuts. We eliminated all the librarians. No librarians. Cut them all. There were a helper in the library that were referred to as a library aide, paid a pitiful wage. They were kept. They could pass out the books. A few years later, we eliminated all the library aides. Closed the libraries. Use it as a classroom. Bring in your science class if you like. You would think I'm arguing for libraries in our schools. Believe it or not, I'm not. We have far more basic needs for our students and for our community. Smart communities are figuring out a way to increase preschool services, early childhood services. We service about 500 students in preschool in Lowell. We need to service about 1,500. No way. We're waiting for state to help us with that, see if they'll mandate it. We don't have the space. We don't have the funds. We need summer school. You know how hard those proud staff work and what they provide for our kids every day, right through the school year? And I am proud of the progress they make. And we see, as you have seen, and the city manager refers to in Lowell, you can see the trend. We're making progress. But during the summer, we deal with summer learning loss. The kids are out of school. Now, not the kind of students of yours or mine. My kids will be fine, thanks very much. They'll go to some summer camp and we'll take them traveling and all the rest. But those kids in Lowell, they need summer school, and they don't get it. Or it's arbitrary. A few years ago, almost nothing. Last year, we used ESSER dollars, $1 million, and we built a nice summer school program in various schools. It was hot. There's no air conditioning, but the kids came and we did the best with that. Well, ESSER's gone. There are fallacies when you discuss the schools in public. And here's a fallacy. They built up all their staff during ESSER, and they built all these extra people in the schools. And now they're in trouble trying to keep them. Have you heard that? I bet you've made your mind up about some of this stuff. Let me tell you, during ESSER, yes, I wasn't superintendent, but we added staff. Positive behavior support teachers in our schools, community schools managers, building-based substitutes. We had a couple of positions in central office, climate specialists. I can't even tell you what that was supposed to do. Library teachers. Mayor Chow and the superintendent at the time tried to bring back those libraries. We hired a bunch of library teachers. That's what happened, you see? And so the school department can't keep up with that. Let me tell you, people, that all ended last year when we hit what we call a fiscal cliff. The loss of ESSER dollars, and yes, the state is giving us more dollars these days in Student Opportunity Act, but we were short $14 million this time last year. And we cut all that stuff. There may be a couple of library teachers going around somewhere. There might be one of those positions that a principal is holding on to for dear life, but they're basically gone. We're not cutting those positions this year because they don't exist. We're cutting frontline people. You know what helped us out during the pandemic? Tutors. It's one of the best strategies to get kids to improve. High dosage tutoring. Show you all the research on that. Well, guess what we're cutting now? Tutors, paraprofessionals. We're still trying to cut the majority of cuts from central office, but this is going hard on our schools. It is a practical issue, and it's a moral issue. Some of you will also have heard there might be more money coming from the state, a couple of $1 million more. That'll help the schools out. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. The state is trying to help out. Student Opportunity Act is built for the story I told you about Wellesley Public Schools and our libraries and our lack of summer school and the after-school programs. The state is trying to help us to pick up and get there because our kids have barriers that kids in those communities don't have. And our staff work harder and are more committed than staffs in those communities because they have to be. Don't tell me there's a couple of $1 million coming from the state to fix this. There isn't, even if the money comes. This isn't a state issue. This is around our values. I admire all of you. I'm looking at some of you in the face, and I know you as people who are in your position, not because of people like me or people who are well-to-do and people who are doing all right. You're in it because you know darn well there's so many of our community that need help and support, and I admire you for it. So is our city manager, so are our city administration, all of whom I work really well with. And there's a lot of great stuff going on. Bring in new businesses, development, build up the tax base. That LINK project, terrific. Collaborate with the university and schools and so on. Let's do it. City manager is good with all that. But you cannot bring success to our city unless you bring the schools with you. Every property value and every property listing, if you look up on Zillow or one of those, you're going to see right in there, along with, the square footage and whether the house has AC, you're going to see the school and the rating of the school. You have got to provide for the success of the schools if you're going to provide for the success of the city. That's practical, but it's also moral. Look at the people we serve. Don't cut their after-school programs. Don't cut the staff that are dedicated to them. I'd like to ask you to support city cash to the schools to the meager tune that it was last year, 22%. We will not be adding assistant superintendents and people at central office or in schools. We'll be keeping up with special ed transportation costs. We'll be running summer school programs, and we'll be banging on the manager's door to give us air conditioning. Encourage the budget to give us 22%. No more than last year. No more. We'll work with that. Also, keep in touch. Learn about what we need. We have a growing population. Our schools are full today. We're going to solve this housing issue. We're going to provide more housing, good stuff. We're going to bring people into the city because our schools are doing great. We're going to need more space. We're going to need more schools. That's not far down the road. That's now. So work with us on things like that. That's not for tonight. I would also like to suggest the City Council support a proportion of what the requirement is to the schools each year. Set it at a particular proportion. Net school spending, however many, whatever number of dollars the state sets, tell us that it's going to be 30% in cash. All right, 25% in cash. But set that number. Do you know when the city is going to reduce cash to schools? When the city feels like they're strapped. Well, guess what? It's the same time the schools feel they're strapped. Do the right thing, the practical thing for the success of our city and for the moral duty we have to the people we serve. Thank you.
Monica Lundberg.
Hello, my name is Monica Lundberg. I live at 12 Alyssa Drive in Lowell. I'm the parent of a 6th grader who has been in the Lowell schools her whole life. I'm here tonight because the budget being presented tonight includes over $4 million in cuts to our schools, and that's simply unacceptable. While I understand that costs are rising, we need to find ways to balance our budget without cutting essential services at our schools. It's unfair to put the burden of balancing the budget on the backs of our children. All the cost increases that the city is experiencing, the schools are experiencing too. Their insurance has gone up just like yours. The city has an obligation to fund the schools under Massachusetts law. What is outrageous about this budget proposal is to reduce the percentage of that mandatory minimum contribution that is given in cash from 22% to 14%. How do you justify that? How do you justify that cut? I'm going to refrain from making assumptions about how funding cuts are distributed throughout other departments, but I will be looking for that information in the budget whenever it is published in full. The people of Lowell need answers. We need to know why you're choosing this, if this is what you choose. And we need you to fight for us. We need you to fight for our children. Yesterday, I attended a public hearing at the State House on several bills before the Joint Committee on Education that deal with Chapter 70 and MSBA funding, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, both highly relevant to this conversation. Mayors and committee members from many other districts and cities like Lowell were present there to testify about their city's needs. It's not enough for you to simply accept the budgetary restraints that you're handed. We need you to stand up and fight for us. If we can't balance our budget without cutting the basic needs of our students, then we need to get loud on Beacon Hill, and that includes every single one of you in this room behind that railing. We need you to stand up and fight for us. Our children are counting on you. Thank you.
Rebecca Duda.
Good evening, and thank you for your time tonight. My name is Rebecca Duda, and I am the coordinator of special programs for the Lowell Public Schools. So what does the coordinator of special programs exactly do? I'm involved with several different activities, but my primary job is to oversee the summer programs and the before and after school programs our children attend during the school year. My department services approximately 3,000 students over the course of any given school year, the majority being in the summer and during the before and after school programs. But we also service children in our middle school science fair, Knowledge Bowl, and things like that. This year, I oversaw programs at 25 schools, all the K-8 schools, the 80 Special Education School, Bridge School, Lowell High School, and the Career Academy. What do we do in these programs? These are not drop-in programs or babysitting programs. These are academic programs that focus on learning outcomes. Our programs are designed to support our most vulnerable and needy students. Often students are referred to these programs through the TAP process, which is a teacher assistant team, students in need of services. These programs are designed to support our multi-language learners, students on IEPs, students experiencing homelessness, and students who may not otherwise be engaged with school. The staff design programs that are best tailored for their students and their needs at their buildings. Many, if not all, offer some sort of social and emotional programming. STEM programming is also popular. Students designing and building things such as model roller coasters, tinkering in makerspaces to engage them in engineering activities. In middle school, sports are popular, especially basketball in the winter. Some students participate in academic programs like Discovering Justice, which actually held their spring session at the court tonight, and I did not attend, so I could be here. All students receive snacks and dinner before they go home through the food service department. Otherwise, some of those students wouldn't be eating anything that evening. I'm not here to go through all the different things students participate in. I'm here to say that my department is looking at a $400,000 decrease according to the proposed cuts. That is a decrease of 38%. There is no way around it. Direct services to students will be cut. There is no staff at central office to cut because you are looking at the department. We are a department of two, me and my clerk. We oversee everything I just described for the whole school year, 12 months a year. That includes data collection, budgets, reports, payroll, ordering, everything. Everything students currently receive and participate in through my department would need to be cut or reduced or eliminated. So it's some sort of bare bones programming. This means stopping longtime partnerships, probably with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, the Summer Police Academy. Everything's on the table, so I can preserve students and teachers in front of those students at our buildings. I am urging the City Council to give us the same funding that we had last year so we have level service. Thank you.
Jennifer Valdez.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Valdez. I'm a resident and owner of 24 Delmont Avenue. My family has lived in South Lowell now for 4 years. We really love it. And my daughter really loves the Shaughnessy School, where she's in kindergarten. I'm here tonight also to express concern about the public school budget and what I know about it so far. I'm still learning. I'm still looking for rationale for the cuts that are being made. However, I was reading in the paper about how the superintendent and the school committee was surprised by the cuts and sort of had to go on the defensive to get more information. That was really alarming to me as a taxpayer and as a parent with a kid in the school system. So I wanted to bring up that concern and also concern about the cuts themselves. I encourage just listening to the people who are on the ground and who will be the most affected, the students, all the students, not just my kid, but everyone, all the students, all the families. I'm a public educator myself, and so please listen to public educators. They're telling you the truth about what is needed in order to have a school system that not only enrolls students, but supports them to thrive and be the future of the city. So thank you for considering.
Lillian Morellis.
I want to start by thanking you for letting me speak in front of you all. And I would also like to thank the administrator, the super administrator, I don't know, for the talk. That was good. I want to start off by saying my name is Lillian Morellis, and I live in East Richardson Street in Lowell. And I go to the Robinson Middle School, and I'm going to be a freshman at Lowell High. I want to be a forensic scientist when I grow up, but I was looking at the programs, and I don't know if I'll be able to enter the programs that could help me follow that path if the $4 million will be removed, because it won't only affect me, but it will also affect students and students' education and their future. These programs give students the extra emotional and academic opportunities. There's a specific program that's called Idea Camp, a STEM workshop. This is a summer camp that gives students hands-on learning or traditional bookwork. Students should have an opportunity of how they wish to learn and what they wish to learn in these programs. Limiting these learning opportunities to students with just school course doesn't allow them to find a passion and gain experience and knowledge about it. The city is not only taking these programs away, but they're also taking away the opportunity for Latin students by removing the Latinx Scholar program, which will help Latin students enter advanced courses, which greatly increase the odds of students entering programs, clubs, and athletics that are affected by the budget cut. I asked you to reconsider the $4 million that you take away from Lowell Public Schools. I thank you for your time and allowing me to talk.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
How's it get you?
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Thank you to all the speakers. Over 4 years ago, I was lucky enough to take a job that I get to be surrounded by educators, which was different than the world I came from. I have total faith in Superintendent Skinner's knowledge of the education system and where it needs to go. This year alone in free cash, we had over $15 million. I don't care about bond ratings at this point when we talk about students. They're our investment, not a bond rating. When we start looking at the summer work and the cuts, when I just went through the budget on page 476, we cut 11 more school nurses. We went from 27 down to 16. Page 476 of the budget, it's there, flip to it, that's what it says. I'm just going off what the budget just said on page 476. When you look at the maintenance of effort, for years, the school department has been shortchanged and paid. There is no question, we all know it. We all can hide and say that Lands and Buildings was doing their job. If they were, all the filters would have been changed in all those HVAC units. The glycol would have been all fixed. We know what was going on. You can see it. And you guys are just stuck as an administration to try to fix this issue. No one's pointing the finger to you. You know, when you go into schools, you have trusted adults, and there's a book written on a trusted adult, and kids get to go to a trusted adult and they get to speak things. And some of the things you hear about support staff and how they help out, help certain kids get through a day. We talked about, Superintendent Skinner talked about kids who have learning disabilities and stuff like that, and how it's essential. Last budget, this council voted to give the Lowell Housing Authority $1.7 million. They're their own entity. Last year, last budget, the school department gave back $1.1 million of that $14 million. Obviously, they're spending in an area that we're looking at, saying that if they're giving back funds, they have to be kind of spending in that way, or they could have just spent that off at the end of the year. It just amazes me that people don't understand the need for some of these services, and I'm sure the manager and his staff didn't see what was going to be cut before this came in. The millionaire's tax, the state overwhelmingly voted for that, not based off of roadways and infrastructure, I promise you that. It was about bringing more money to the schools, not have communities come in and see the more money given that they could pull cash reserves out of it. That was the point of the millionaire's tax, was bringing more money to schools and trying to get the students the learning pieces that they need. The DLS is in your packet, and we quickly have no problem reporting out that we're under the statewide number for taxing properties. But we're not quickly to point out that we're 13 from the bottom in average tax bills as a percentage of income. We're 13th from the bottom. That means you're at 334 out of 351 for the lowest income per tax bill. There's a reason why we need to support these schools. There's a reason why I'm hoping that we can go to the manager, but the public has to understand something. The role of the city council is to accept a budget, cut line items, or reject a budget. We can't add to it. So, Mr. Manager, I'm imploring you to sit down with Superintendent Skinner, find a way to put them where they need to be, and ask Superintendent Skinner to come back here and actually support a budget that he can live with. That's the path we need to take. We need to take those conversations early, because I'm sure that you never saw those cuts that he was going to cut with that $4 million until after that was outlined. And I'm hoping that you two can sit down and we can come back with a budget that both can live with. And I don't think that will be a hard thing, but looking at the two of you and the relationship you guys have. Thank you.
Councilor Marcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Gitchia said everything that I was about to say, but he spoke first, so I hand it to him. We realize that the children are our future, and they need the help and the support, and I'm willing, as a city councilor, to take a stand and see, Mr. Manager, if you can work with Liam Skinner. You have the most mutual respect for each other. It's about the children. I know at budget time, and this today, right now, is not a budget hearing, so I can say what I'm going to say. At budget time, though, we can either level fund the budget, accept the budget, or reduce it, but we cannot add to the budget. So I can't bring this up at budget time, but I'm asking you and imploring, please, Mr. Manager, sit down with Liam Skinner, the superintendent, and see if you can come and restore that $4 million. They need it, honest to God. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it, but I'm not the professional. The man that spoke is the professional. He's the superintendent. He knows what he needs, and I'm willing to help. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I do appreciate the very passionate testimony by Superintendent Skinner, as well as the other speakers as well. I admire their passion for their city and education. But, you know, this council, there's no doubt, is extremely committed to education. And in a low-income city such as Lowell, the only way children can break out of poverty is education. So that has to be one of our major pillars in government. And I know the manager and this council is taking that very, very seriously. Now, the funding related to COVID for the school department, ESSER, E-S-S-E-R, is the acronym, which is what equates to ARPA money on the city side of the coin, translated to about $50 million, I believe, over 3 installments. Ms. Mayor, through you to Connor Baldwin, is that correct? On the ESSER monies at about $50 million?
Mr. Mayor? That's approximately in the ballpark, Councilor.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Although, just look at I think it was managed very, very well. There's no doubt about it. The city made some, on the school side, made some very, very wise investments. But just like on the city side with ARPA, their side, you know, new positions were created. And that funding has dried out. This will be the first school department budget without ESSER money. And we all know the unfortunate circumstance that this day was going to come. And very difficult decisions were going to have to be made. But this cut, as well as my colleagues, does not sit well with me at all. And we need to do everything we can to meet this deficit. In particular, the mention from the superintendent of tutors, paraprofessionals, very important to me, and I'm sure my colleagues as well. There's much needed to address learning loss during the summer months, and we're still rebounding from COVID as well as the activities, student activities as well. So, you know, there's some huge challenges here. I understand the costs of transportation for some of these students has soared with the homeless population, and I appreciate the information. 10%, alarming. It really is. But there are costs associated with that. Charter school spending has increased from the state $5 million. I know that doesn't help the public schools. That's another challenge that we faced on our side. But we need to do all we can. I'm just trying to explain the challenges that we have on our side and what we're trying to accomplish, not to mention school facilities, the commitment that this council's made and the past previous administration as well as this one, as well as, I believe, a $17 million investment that we're looking at into our schools. You know, the appropriate learning environment is important as well, that our facilities are warm when they need to be and cool when they need to be, and safe and healthy environment. That's important too. And we're trying to meet those standards as best we can, and there are significant costs associated with that. So in closing, I don't believe, Mr. Mayor, through you to the CFO or the manager, whoever would like to answer this now, the budget chapter, the money, it's not finalized yet. Am I correct with that assessment, Mr. Manager?
CFO.
Mayor? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the state budget is not finalized yet, and you know, this is a common practice for the city where we have certain deadlines to meet under the statute, but we must move forward with the most reliable information we have about the state revenues, the local aid accounts that we have, which is what has come out of recently from the Senate version of the budget. But to your point, Councilor, and to respond directly to your question, there is still a possibility that there is a change. And it has been, for the last several years, our experience that the state has approved their budget after July 1st. So it is not uncommon for the Commonwealth to finalize their budget into the subsequent fiscal year.
Right, okay. And I know your strategy, Mr. CFO. You're looking at this at a conservative number. I understand. You can't, You can't forecast anything you don't know. We can't overpromise here. That wouldn't be good. So there is a ray of hope here. That's my take. So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the administration and Superintendent Skinner, that you both work collectively with the delegation. It's not over. They can push. They've done it before. And let's make up for this deficit as best we can. I mean, there's nuclear options as well. I mean, whether that's a further tax increase or that's diving into the stabilization fund, but that would be a very difficult decision. But I'm hoping we can avoid that by working with the delegation, making up for this deficit while things aren't finalized. There is still time and there is still hope. And maybe we can do something on our end as well as a subsidy. But I think there's something we can do here. In particular, again, the classroom paraprofessionals and tutors are a big concern of mine that we cannot afford to lose. And we must find a way. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have to say.
Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the superintendent, the educator, the parents, the family, and the student for coming to speak tonight. Very, very informative to get information and the facts directly from the stakeholders and the people that are in the public school system. Also want to thank the city manager, the administration, and CFO for working on this detailed budget. I know it's not easy. It took months and months to come with this draft for the council and for the public to review. And as the city manager mentioned, thank to all the department heads for really being flexible and putting your heads down and trying to work and come up with a budget with the numbers that we all can work together. I think the most important things that the city manager mentioned in the comments was that we want to build a city that's going to have good quality of life. I don't think that you can have a good quality of life if you don't have an educated force. We need an educated workforce, and there's no better place than to invest in the youngest residents in our city. We know that they are the future leaders, and if we don't invest in our school system, we won't have an educated residents, we won't have educated workforce, we're not going to have a good quality of life. And all the work that the previous council body, administration, and in the future have worked on would not mean anything if there's no educated workforce, if we don't invest in the school system right now. I agree and concur with my colleagues' comments to ask the city manager to please sit down with the superintendent, try to work out some kind of a numbers that we don't want to cut the school budget, and we know here, Mr. Manager, that you mentioned we do have a superstar CFO on board. If anything that can be done, I believe that Mr. CFO can look at the numbers, look at the budget, to see where we can draw or work around the numbers, where we can get the budget from. I just want to mention just briefly that, just one example as the superintendent brought out, about the library. I was very happy to work with his predecessor to bring the library back, even for a short time. One thing that I don't understand about education is that, if reading is so fundamental education, how could you not have a library in the school system? That's just an example, and that's an example that lead to what other effects, negative effects it would have if we were to cut some other programs. We have a third of the student population learn to speak English, just like I did, just many of the immigrants, Americans in the city of Lowell did, learn to speak English, improve their lives. 10% is homeless. 1/5 population of special needs. The city, from my experience being in the city for over 40 years, the city of Lowell has come up, has developed, has improved drastically. And I don't want to see that it would go down. I think by cutting the budget, by cutting the programs, losing staff, not providing the basic educational services to the students in need, I think that would put our city, as challenging it is now, I think it'll become more challenging in the future. So I do ask the administration to please work with the school administration to come up with the numbers that would continue the improvement that we've been working on. I do want to follow up on a question Councilor Belanger asked the CFO, on the state budget, the process, and the timeline. I know that's just a background. The information we have is what we have to go with. But let's say that, Mr. CFO, Mayor to the CFO, if you were to come up with some kind of budget, different numbers than what you have now, to support the school budget, and later on, after July, we find out that the state decide to increase the funding from the Senate side in whatever amount. What can we do with that money now that we fund it? We vote on, because of a time frame, we have to vote on the budget right now. We have to do something, look at some, whatever the figure may be, get the numbers going. But in the future, in a couple of months, 3 months from now, there'll be money from the state. What is the process then between the administration and the city council?
CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has happened before in Lowell, where, as I just mentioned, because the state often has a more protracted process for their budget, where the city council has adopted a budget for the subsequent fiscal year, and then the state has had a higher number for Chapter 70. And in the particular year that I'm thinking of, it was the Senate version, which held in the final state budget. And so we ended up with a number higher for Chapter 70. There's a fairly simple procedure whereby the city manager would recommend to the council a supplemental appropriation. And that can happen as soon as the state budget is passed. The council, by majority vote, would appropriate those funds to the schools. And then the auditor would add the amount to the accounts that the schools desired. So it's a fairly straightforward process, but it would only be if there was a change in the revenue source of the state side or some other available fund.
Thank you, Mr. CFO. And I agree with the superintendent. I think, and as the comments of my colleague here, let's not gamble with the future of our school, with our students, whether we could get the money from the state or not. I think, with the manager and with the CFO, work through what we have, try to make sure that we fund the school to maintain the level of service that they have now. And if the state, if the Senate decide to vote and approve to send more money to our city, and that'd be great. I think that's an easier process, a simpler process, just say to vote and what we can do with it, to put into the funding to fund other projects. That's easier than if you vote to, let's say, on a lower budget than the school needs, and let's wait and see what we can get from the state, and they decide to give us some more funding. Then by then it'd be too late. So again, I have faith in the managers and the CFO to look at something and make this work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to thank the superintendent for coming here tonight to speak. I think he wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't come here and advocate for the district. And I'd also like to comment on what Ms. Lundberg said, which was about all of us needing to be better advocates, and I would agree with that. At this point in time, we are having trouble, obviously, balancing budget without cutting the schools. And it's something that's happened throughout the years. We've neglected paving on our roads for so many years. We've spent $1 million a year, which doesn't even touch our roads and sidewalks. We have not bought new fire trucks for 26 years, some of our fire trucks. We have firefighters working in hazardous conditions because the firehouses haven't been repaired for many years. So these in addition to many other things, a 311 system, joint facilities system that we want to develop, so many other things that we've brought forward that need to be addressed. And I think the manager has tried to address that through this budget. I don't want to cut funding to schools. It's definitely something I don't want to do. I think we need to continue the discussion about how we can be better advocates around the full charter school funding, around the Student Opportunity Act funding. And that's just what I think we need to do. Obviously, I would like the manager to go back and look to see what we can do. But there are competing interests that have been happening that have been long neglected. Thank you.
Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Superintendent Skinner, and all the speakers, particularly a young student, and all those who wrote to us through email, all the council receiving it, urging us to advocate and to support our school. And I appreciate the relationship that the managers and his administration has had with, Superintendent Skinner's and his team. And I want to see that relationship continue and strengthen going forward for a simple reason for our kid. So I understand that this year budget for the city is 14 million more than the previous year. For a number of reasons, let me just go through this for a minute. COLA, cost of living, $20 million debt, outstanding debt, right, that we have to pay for accelerated repair project in the high school, vehicle purchase, paving costs. Councilor Scott just alluded to, we have done more paving and more roadway than ever before. Bridge Street, Beaver Street, Tiger Street, and so on. So we also do a charter school assessment as well, pension, health insurance, fire overtime, firefighter overtime, and the police overtime. We also have a reorganization process going on, proposal with the facility department, and so many other that prompt the $14 million increase this year than last year for the city budget. With regard to the school budget, this year $271 million with some change, and I know that my understanding is that the House and the Senate came up with some sort of almost the same Chapter 7, but there's going to be a conference on that, as well as you have the governor have the $1 million tax, for special ed. We don't know that number. At some point, I know that you have some reliable sources, but that's still not final at this point. My strong feeling, as most of my colleagues, is that, there's no better city than Lowell, Massachusetts, who have a public school that you can go from K to PhD by walking, right? We pride ourselves of that, and we pride ourselves of the progress we make over the years. I do not want us to, I want us to continue, not going back. With the leadership of Superintendent Skinner's and with the relationship with the managers and his team, I'm looking forward and anticipate for that progress to continue. With the how we're going to fund this, I think there's a number of ways we can fund this. The shortest to the school funding at this point. I know that our superstar, as Councilor Chow indicated, CFO, do not like us to touch the reserve fund, right? We have $17 million on that. It's for rainy day and also help us in when we go borrow money and low interest and stuff. But it's just one-time thing. $17 million we have there in the reserve. And the other way we can do that as well, that we may have to look at the health benefit trust. Many years ago, I believe that that when we changed our health insurance to GIC, right? You put together a public employee committee, and that was many years ago. I know that's at least $1 million, a few $1 million in that account hasn't been used for a long time. I know that's not in your hand, Mr. Manager, nor the Superintendent Skinner, but the union has some say in it. If the union feel needs, teacher union, I mean, a need to continue, no layoff for teacher, paraprofessional, tutors, and whatnot, to continue the progress we make in Lowell Public School, then our leader in the union, teacher union, need to work with us. Work with us, work with the manager, work with superintendent, so that we can come up with resources, money, to fund our school. So I urge the manager to continue this dialogue. I understand that at this point, just you presented this case, this budget to us. I understand that we're going to have 2 weeks from now the hearing, public hearing on this matter. I bet you, Mr. Manager and Superintendent Skinner, you're going to have parent and teacher, student and teacher feel this place and say, please help us. We don't want to go backward. We want to go forward, and we can do this together. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Mr. Manager, or Mr. CFO. The current tax rate you have this year is 2.5%. To get $4 million extra in revenue to give to the school department, what would that tax rate be?
Mr. Mayor, through you to the council, it'd be approximately 2%, probably 1.8.
Okay. For the 1.8, not the 4?
There'd be a 1.8% increase, and I'm just doing that off the top of my head, looking for the CFO. But that'd go from 2.5 to 4.3.
And how many jobs would the city side lose if we gave them $4 million and didn't raise the tax rate?
Currently, right now, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council, currently, right now, we have what I've referred to as dollared out 14 jobs, which basically means we've been looking through the process of jobs that weren't filled that we figured we couldn't fill and bring back the money. That was our second attempt going through some of our ordinary expenses to try to pull more money back into the budget to balance it appropriately. This has been an iteration over probably really, I'd say, it's been since January, but the last 6 weeks with different budgets from the House and the Senate, one of the councilors had brought up the appropriateness of the charter schools. Some of the funding actually went up, the funding actually went down, and then our allotment went up. So it was kind of like a double hit to the tune, I believe it was 2.2 million. Please don't hold me to that. I get numbers flying around here, but it was to the tune of about $2.2 million. But unless the CFO has something to add about that. So when those hits come to us, that's the reason we had to go back, dollar out some of those jobs to try to get back to that $2.2 million. And as I stated in my initial response, we're a tad higher with collecting revenue than I'm comfortable with. That doesn't mean I'm correct. I just would rather be on the more conservative side, because what I see happening in our future, I'm extremely concerned with what the federal budget, and Superintendent Skinner and I have talked about this. The one thing that has happened, there's no question about it, that the superintendent and I have a friendship, okay, that will live way past this discussion of budget. There isn't anyone in this room that doesn't want to provide more funding. And just because of our personal relationship, I had jokingly said to the superintendent, I'd give him $40 million if I could. And he said, I'll just take 4. So that was a nice compromise. But, on the serious side, and I know the council are all looking for this, and Mr. Mayor, I don't want to cut off any other questions you have before I get into a response.
Good.
So the question before the council is, can we work together? I can tell you unequivocally, no problem. I have more respect for this gentleman. I've known quite a few people, and I liken him to a Jim McMahon, to be quite frank, who was an assistant superintendent so many years ago. And there's been so many great superintendents. But we will look, I will go back in, but I want to be clear. We will look to actually cut positions in the city. We've done a lot to get to where we are. We will need to look at employee count to see if we can bring that back, and I'm sure that if I speak with the superintendent, some of the positions that they feel as though they needed to increase, maybe we can talk about that to get to the people that we feel as though are front line. I do believe, and Councilor Noon, thank you very much for the thought process on this, petitioning the PEC, the Public Employee Committee, that is currently sitting on approximately $3 million, and they have been for the past 14 years. If for a one-time discussion, our health care has gone up, I want to say it was 12% on the city side, and I'm not quite sure. I think it's approximately 12% on the school side, maybe a tad more or a tad less, but that's millions of dollars. If we can pull in the assistance of the PEC, which quite frankly is run by the union, that's a one-time fix, but that could get us through this. And there is other things that we will look at to try to make this happen. This is a first, everyone knows this is the first inning of the next 2 weeks of very long, I don't want to say it's a game, because it's not a game, but it's a first inning of now I'm stuck on the game thing, sorry. But I don't mean this is a game. This is very serious. Liam, the superintendent and I had private discussions beforehand, and we were trying to continue to pull back. Some of our major problems that are here in the city, and it's due not to this council, not due to the council prior to. It is we have looked at all of our buildings, and quite frankly, this council is to be thanked for giving me the authority and, quite frankly, the finances to continue moving forward on our capital. When we're moving forward on our capital, when I first got here almost over 3 years ago, the phone calls that the assistant city manager would take on a daily basis in the schools, as well as the rest of the city. Okay? I am not saying that phone calls do not come in. I don't think the assistant city manager would say that either. But because of what we have been doing with the $30+ million of investment, and some of that money is coming through the ARP program, which is the state, give or take, probably about 28% needs to be funded. So when we're looking at our debt, there is our challenge. Our challenge will be next year as well. Our challenge is going to be greater if I want to be wrong, quite frankly. I want to be wrong that 2026, the fiscal year 2026, we will see no further discussions. I truly, honestly don't, I believe we're doing the right thing by putting more money into our quote-unquote rainy day account. I think it is the right thing, it is the prudent thing, it is something that if it was really a problem, we could go into. And I also think that borrowing less money from ourselves is also a prudent piece. This budget, if you could believe, is conservative, but yet it's pushing me on my revenue side a little bit past in my comfort level. But I know that to answer the question and to stop thinking, you know, let people reply or let's go to the next step, I am confident that I can work with Superintendent Skinner. We can look at this. We can look from, again, from the city's perspective on other positions and jobs we could pull back on. I'd be asking him to do the same thing on the positions that they feel as though they need to add. They feel like they need to add. I'm going to ask him to make that tough decision to say, we can't add it this time. Because this council, under this administration, we've created jobs that we felt as though we needed to add. And what I was trying to do is hold this team together because I really see this turning. I see things happening within our buildings, all of our buildings. The $6 million that we've never gone to the fire department. That is going to happen because of this, if this council approves it. We've done this the right way. We're going to continue to do this the right way. We're going to get to this together, and it's uncomfortable, and that's okay. Uncomfortable questions, uncomfortable comments, and comfortable ways to get someplace is how this city is head and shoulders above other cities. I want to thank, once again, the superintendent for being here today. I want to thank all the councilors for that push. I will guarantee you that we will look at those positions. It's not comfortable because people are going to wonder where it's going to come from. Same for my colleague and my friend. We will petition the Public Employees Committee, the PEC, to see if they can help us this one time. And we will look for other revenues that I will talk to the councilors individually just to see, to gauge temperature to find out how we can do this. So I thank you all for your comments. I thank you all for your phone calls. Even though when it appeared that I might have not been happy with the multiple phone calls, I really was, because you were giving me the feedback. You're the closest to the people. You're the closest to the people that are going to respond, and I thank all of the councilors for that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Robertson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the superintendent and all the speakers, and I'd also like to thank the city manager and his team. Again, budget is a reflection of your priority, and I think since especially this administration has came in, it's clear education has been a priority. I mean, Manager Golden is a byproduct of our local education, our local institutions, higher learning, higher ed, as many of my colleagues on the council are. I think there's been a sound investment. I think people have to be mindful of We're not looking to harm and cut services or opportunities from the children. But on the other side of the coin, please take a step back and consider our responsibilities in the relationship that we have with Lowell Public Schools. It's kind of a landlord-tenant relationship. As the landlords, not only are we willing to step up and help with whatever we can do with the educational components that happen in our facilities, we've made a serious commitment and investment into the facilities themselves. Since day one, when I got on this council, you could set your clock to it. Every summer, it's too hot. Every winter, the kids are freezing. We've had pipes burst, you name it, the entire gamut of problems. And I think within the past year and a half to 2 years, you're starting to see all the investment pay off. One of our responsibilities, which isn't the fancy put your finger on and point to, it might not be on Zillow, but what it is providing the best possible learning environment for our family, students, teachers, and anyone that visits these facilities. So I do agree. I think, if we could, it'd be a no problem, fully funded, and what else can we do? But one thing I have to say is I'm glad to see that the relationship exists, because as a 15-year employee for the city, it wasn't always this kind of relationship between the school and the city side. There wasn't admirable jokes being made. There wasn't open communication. So I think that's a positive. And I think everyone in this room is still looking for the same outcome. How we get there, as the manager just discussed, there's going to be some options, and that could lead to some tough situations. But I'm hoping we can find a compromise to get through this hurdle. And I think on both sides, the superintendent and the manager, it's easy to manage when times are good. We've had ESSER and ARPA. But now, great managers are going to manage us through the times when there's no parachute. And I think both of these managers on both sides of the aisle are going to find that sweet spot. So I look forward to seeing what we can do. Thank you.
Just one more question I got before we wrap it up. So the email we got from State Rep Howard yesterday, Mr. Manager, I know probably the superintendent yourself are aware of that. It seems like both the Senate and the House side have an allocation of $2 million more in their budgets than was previously proposed. Is that your understanding, Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council is anything between the House and the Senate right now is extremely fluid. I would like to say that will be July 1st, but well, I would hope it's completed by July 1st. But if history is any indication, and this is not a slap at anybody in this delegation or the State House at all, sometimes it goes into the 15th, et cetera. So that would be something that I think we could set a potential priority, that if dollars and cents do increase and the ebb and flow that I was talking with Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Ball about, we will keep everybody up to speed as soon as we knew what was going on. But my fear, Mr. Mayor, is that will not be done until sometime in July. And our goal, once again, was to try to get this accomplished before the end of May, so that our auditor, as well as all of our department heads, would be able to close out appropriately in a timely manner. It always seems, at least in the past 3 budgets that we've done, everyone's rushing to the finish line, and we're really trying to stop that from happening for the benefit of our auditor and all of our auditors who do a fine job, and especially our department heads who are trying to close out their books and get ready for July 1. So that's our intent.
Good. All right, motion to accept the place on file by Councilor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to derail that for a minute. Excuse me. I want to start by just saying thank you to City Manager Golden, CFO Baldwin, and the whole administration team for all the work you put in to get us to this point on the budget. I know it's a lot of work every year. This is it definitely is the biggest impact thing that happens through the course of the year here in the city, is this budget coming forward, us going through it, approving it, cutting it, whatever we do, sets the course for the next year and beyond in the city. And as many people have said, everybody in this room nobody here wants to cut anything. Nobody wants to put anyone behind the 8 ball here. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the superintendent for coming down and speaking so eloquently and passionately on behalf of the students and the staff that make LPS what it is. And to thank you to the speakers who were here too to advocate. I've asked Mr. Baldwin several times if he's been successful in finding a bucket of money or a tree that prints money that we can plant here at City Hall. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to come through on that yet. Maybe someday. But this is an extremely complicated situation. We have a lot of different inputs, and we have difficult choices that have to be made here. We're in a situation now of looking at increasing taxes, cutting school services, cutting city services, which, if you ask anybody, they wouldn't want any of those 3 things to happen. But we don't have an unlimited set of funds. And I do appreciate that the manager, the superintendent, the CFO are going to work on this to see what they can do. It may be a situation where we have to balance those 3 items I mentioned, whether that's a bigger tax increase, more cuts on one side, more cuts on the other side. There's only so many ways that we can get to a balanced budget, which we're required to have. I wish that I could just make a motion and send another $4 million to the schools, but that doesn't happen. It can't happen. It's not legal. It's not a good way of managing the budget. I think in some respects we're still kind of making up for many, many years of decisions that go well back in history, whether that was an attempt to get through a budget year without doing a tax increase, or to skimp on maintenance and repairs to buildings and systems within the buildings. That all comes home to roost. And it comes home to roost by us not having adequate funding for all the needs within the city. It's been a challenge every year to do that, and it's exceptional this year due to the end of many of the grants and funding that was coming into the city and is no longer. And I hate to say it, but it's only going to be worse next year. So I think we need to do whatever we can to get this year right and set us up for success. And that includes continued conversations and another look at all this. Watched the school committee meeting from last Wednesday, and I saw the sheet of cuts that Superintendent Skinner gave to everyone. I was able to read through that and look at that. And I have a lot of concerns about us holding out hope that more money is going to come from the state to be able to offset some of these things. As we've talked about, it often isn't done by July 1. And with that sheet of paper floating around, anybody who has one of those roles and is looking at that sheet of paper is probably already polishing up their resume and looking at options, because they have to. I think if we go into a situation where we're crossing our fingers and hoping that we get additional funding, what's likely to happen is the Superintendent Skinner is going to have to lay off some of that staff before that state money comes back. Those employees may not come back. These are all talented employees who can go and get another job in another district or in the private sector, and it's going to be very difficult to restaff some of these things if we were to lose them. So I think we need to keep that in mind as we march through the next couple weeks here and figure out what our budget final picture looks like. I look forward to continuing these conversations and seeing what we can do here. But thanks again for everyone for their advocacy and their hard work to get us to this point, and we'll see what the next couple of weeks brings. Thank you.
Councilor Yum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first want to thank Manager Golden and our CFO Baldwin and his team for working so hard to come with the budget presented to us today. I know Manager and this council have, put out a priority that including the economic development that's including the quality of life, infrastructure, sustainability, affordable housing. So manager and his team took that into heart of what this council wants. However, to me, education is also important as well. I came from a culture where we value highly on education. My mother used to tell me that education is a wealth that no one can take it away from you. And it was so true. When the Khmerus came over, our belonging, our house was taken and trashed by the Khmer communist regime. However, the education knowledge that I had was no one taken away. I was be able to come to America and started using the knowledge, including speaking English, to start my new life here. In this situation, it's the same. If I may go forward, Mr. Manager, for the next year, I want you to put education as one of the components of the priority that this council wants to see as well. So everyone said already that I'm hoping that, both manager and his financial team and the school department will come together a middle ground, similar to the United States do the tariff negotiation between different countries. And I would like to see that, manager and the school sit down, compromise, so come into a middle ground that will not affect detrimentally affect the city side as far as employment and also school side as well. So hopefully the Ways and Means budget for $61.4 billion will come through, and then will be voted after July, and then we were able to amend the budget and then maybe give additional fund to our school department. Again, thank you to Manager Golden and his financial team, and thanks to Superintendent Skinner and all the speakers who came today to express the concern of the cut. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Manager and Mr. Skinner.
Mr. Mayor, can we make a bundle? A motion to bundle? 7-1 to 7-4.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
did we do the public hearing at 7?
It was withdrawn.
Withdrawn, okay, thank you.
You got it. 7.1, vote to accept timely submission of the budget. 7.2, vote FY 2026 budget approved appropriation order. Those two, yeah, you're right, I can't do them all at the same time. I gotta do them separately because it's different ones. 7.1, a vote to accept timely submission of the budget, waive the full reading and second reading by title. Motion to adopt, Mr. Clerk, by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Noon. Roll call.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
Council Dakota. Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janice.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council New.
Yes.
10.
7.2, FY 26 budget approval appropriation order. A motion to refer to a public hearing on May 27th, 2025 by Councilor Getchia, second by Councilor Chow. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 7.3, a vote to apply, accept, expend $5,050,000 one-stop growth grant. Waive the full reading and second reading by title. The motion to adopt by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Janice. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
Council Dakota. Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janice.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council New.
7.4, authorize city manager to execute MOU and temporary access agreement with Wexford Development LLC. Waive the full reading and second reading by title. Authorize the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding and temporary access agreement with the Wexford Development LLC relative to the development of parcel 15 within the city of Lowell's Hampton Canal Innovation District. By Councilor Getchia, second by Councilor Yam. Councilor Getchia.
Through you, Mayor Rourke, to Manager Golden. Manager Golden, could you talk about this piece before we take a vote and how important it is to that area?
Mr. Manager.
And what it exactly is?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak, Assistant City Manager Rose to speak about this.
So it is an MOU and an access agreement for Wexford Development. We have been in ongoing negotiations with Wexford about their interest in developing a commercial building in the Hamilton Canal District. Wexford has a client that they're looking to build the building for. It will be 100% a commercial research and development location with staff at the site. It is a building that will have unique security needs and will require a level of clearance to access the building. So we've been working with the development team on ensuring that they're not building a giant ugly box that's going to face onto Dutton Street, but rather that they're combining our needs for some sort of curb appeal with what they need for security. And I think that conversation is going to go well. This MOU will essentially ensure that we are not shopping the property to anybody else. It also will kick off a due diligence period very similar to their timeline is tighter than wind development, for example, so their due diligence period's a little shorter. But this will allow them to do some additional due diligence on financing needs, furthering their development and design plans, starting to work on the permitting process. They're eager to move forward pretty quickly with this, and so it's our intention that we'll have roughly a 3 to 4 month due diligence period, and then after that due diligence period, we'll kick off a 90-day period to get to an LDA, essentially, which would sell the property to them so they could start construction. We've already had early conversations with the development team and included the building commissioner, the land use board, everybody that's involved in the oversight for the form-based code in Hamilton Canal, and the historic board representative. Based on the plans that we've seen, Wexford is not asking us for any changes to the existing code. They do plan to build the building per the original code as it was written. And I do want to note that in the original Hamilton Canal sort of master planning process, this particular parcel 15, which is the one that used to act as the National Parks parking lot area, I guess, for folks trying to imagine the location, was always identified as a fully commercial building. And so this really is totally consistent with the original master plan for the HCID.
Thank you again, Manager Golden.
Cut to Josh first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the work that's gone into this so far. I look forward to seeing where this goes. Do we have any ideas in terms of the number of employees they're looking at this site?
Ms. Rose?
Yeah, exactly, no. I think we're somewhere in the range of 50 to 100.
Okay.
And then I also think that it is kind of depends on what they're working on. And so they do, I think, depending on the project, might have some fluctuations. But we're assuming roughly 50 to 100. Those are the numbers that we've been talking to the parking department about potentially absorbing in the new garage, for example.
Okay, great. And that was going to be my next question, is that my understanding is the form-based code, they won't have any on-site parking, maybe beyond a loading dock or a loading zone, something like that. And their employees will most likely be parking in the Hamilton Canal garage or, biking, walking to work, something like that. And the only other question I have is, I know that some of the other properties that we've developed, we've included either in LDAs or somehow the maintenance of the public space around it. I'm specifically thinking about the walkway along the canal that parallels Dutton Street there. I don't know if that's technically a national park walkway that's being maintained, if the city's maintaining that, but I would like to just articulate now that I would like to maintain that walkway and make sure that the maintenance is provided for either by the developers of this building or the city or the national park or something. I don't want to see it fall off the map as an access way. So that was my only concern with just the security levels we've mentioned. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is that pile of dirt that we moved to build the road is still there. The city will be responsible for moving that before transitioning the property, I assume, correct?
That's actually one of our commitments in the MOU. So yes, we do plan on moving that dirt pile. And to speak to the walkway, the city's DPD meets pretty regularly with the folks from MPS. We have been discussing that particular walkway. It is in kind of rough shape, so we are looking to not only continue the maintenance of it, but hopefully fund an improvement at some point. So those conversations are ongoing, and certainly if we can get the developers to help with that cost, it's something that we'll be bringing to the table.
All right, thank you very much.
Project Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great news, great news. I highlighted the Hamilton Canal Innovation District earlier in the meeting, and this would be a tremendous acquisition for that parcel. It would help it live up to its name, Innovation District down there. Now, I did research on Wexford corporations, and they are a very highly rated technology research and development firm that works exclusively with universities. So what a perfect fit. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, through you to Ms. Baez-Rose, would this be a complement to the Link project then? Is this related to that? May I ask?
Yeah, thank you. It is. So Wexford is with GMH and Wexford are the two master developers that are working with the university on the Link project. As they have been in conversations here in the city of Lowell and involved in the Link process itself, and discussing the needs of a variety of the tenants that the university has been in discussion with, it became pretty clear that one of those tenants was looking for a property to be developed at within a timeline that was not going to align with Link. And also, again, given this building's particular security needs, was not actually going to align with some of the planned sort of flow of the development within Link. And so thanks to the great relationship that we have with the university, their first suggestion was, hey, you should talk to the city of Lowell. They have properties in the Hamilton Canal. So this absolutely is a direct connection with the Link project, but it is not the city. It is not going to represent a reduction of anything happening at Link. This is in addition to the planned work that they're doing there. We are also going to be able to get this development. I think that's an important thing to note, that we're not poaching tenants or potential tenants from the university. This is actually in addition to what they had envisioned.
Right, but they needed a more accelerated pace to get this done. Well, we're open for business, as the manager's administration tagline. So well done to everybody involved, and good compliment, Mr. Manager. Your administration, the partnership with UMass Lowell has never been better. And this is a direct correlation of that. Very exciting stuff. So good luck the rest of the way, and let's get it done. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to Assistant City Manager Baez-Rose, I'm glad to hear that the building will have a really more pleasant, inviting facade, because it's facing such a really public way leading to the city hall. And my fear at first, I was afraid that similar to other locations, like a metal fence guard with the armed guards and everything like that. Those that's keep that, and I appreciate that. If you could do that, that would be really, really good. Thank you.
Manager, anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Just in closing, this is an exciting opportunity. Obviously, with Wexler and GMH, we are moving and pushing forward with this. This is really to be celebrated, but this MOU is start of the process. So we're hoping that within weeks to come, as the outline that the assistant city manager has brought forward. But the city council should know, and the city residents, and it's a real pleasure for me to be in meetings with our Assistant City Manager. Talk about tenacious, somebody who has invaluable insight, to your point, Councilor Yem, and an incredible advocate to ensure that this is going to look the right way. So I just want to say thank you very much to our Assistant City Manager, Baez Rose, for her and her team, because really when I get the opportunity, I know Assistant City Manager Machado as well as Baldwin feel the same way. When we all have an opportunity to come in and talk about this, she commands that presence, and she is really doing a great job with this, and I'm very proud to say that she's on this team making this happen. And you know, this MOU, starting the process, you know, we need to get to that next piece, and that is that's a challenge. You know, MOUs to LDAs are always a challenge, but we'll be keeping you up to date as to what's happening next. But I just want to say, from a personal standpoint, I want to say thank you very much to ACM Rose on this.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Councilor Chow. Councilor Dakota. Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janice.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor New.
Yes.
10 years.
8.1, order for a 60-day trial, waive the full reading. Second reading by title, motion to adopt by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Getchia. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota. Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janice.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor New.
Yes.
10 years.
8.2 and 8.3, both loan orders, 2025 capital plan, loan order, and parking capital improvements. Both motions to refer a public hearing on May 27, 2025 by Councilor Janice, second by Councilor Noon. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
No roll call needed, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion
Aye.
passes. 9, ordinance from the city manager. 9.1, ordinance to amend Chapter 20, Article 3, DPW. Motion to refer a public hearing on May 27, 2025 by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Noon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 9.2, ordinance to amend the sewer rate FY26. Refer a public hearing on May 27th by Councilor Janice, second by Councilor Getchia. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 9.3, an ordinance to amend the water rate FY26. A motion to refer a public hearing on May 27th, 2025 by Councilor Belanger, second by Councilor Chow. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. And 9.4, an ordinance to create new positions in various departments. Give the first reading. Pass. Motion to refer a public hearing on May 27th, 2025 by Councilor Janice, second by Councilor Scott. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 10, reports, subcommittee. 10.1, neighborhood finance joint subcommittee, May 6, 2025. Chairwoman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Joint Neighborhoods and Finance Subcommittee met on May 6th at 5:30 p.m. Present on roll call were myself, Councilor Getchia, who chaired the meeting, Councilor Belanger, Councilor Janice, Councilor Dakota. Others present included Councilor Mercia, Councilor Noon, Councilor Yem, DPD Director Yvonne Baez-Rose, CFO Connor Baldwin, Assistant CFO Austin Ball, and Dylan Ricker from the DPD. The first item on the agenda was the CPA funding recommendations presented by Yvonne Baez-Rose. There were no applications for open space again this year. The housing projects that were recommended were 138 Cross Street, Mass Mills 4, Suffolk Place, and the East End Club. Councilor Dakota emphasized and questioned why there was reduced funding for the East End Club. Councilor Belanger emphasized the importance of Suffolk Place and asked how buyers were selected. The historic preservation projects that were recommended, the next category, were the Turbine Building, 573 to 579 Lawrence Street, St. Anne's, 1 Lancet Mills, 484 Merrimack Street, and 32 Bridge Street. Patrick Ty from New Royal LLC presented to us on 484 Merrimack Street. I expressed support for all the projects and commended the commission. Councilor Yam noted his content for several projects that were being located within the acre, and Councilor Mercia praised the vetting process and the responsible use of taxpayer funds. There was a motion made by myself and seconded by Councilor Janice to recommend project funding to the full council. The second item that we discussed was the CPA surcharge change. It was introduced by Councilor Getchia, and Councilor Noon explained his motion to review surcharge changes. CFO Baldwin presented models for changes and emphasized that adjustments require both council and voter approval. A motion was made by myself and seconded by Councilor Janice to send a report to the full council with referral to the appropriate subcommittee. The motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
Motion to accept, placed on file by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Yem. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 10.2 nonprofit, we'll take care of next week. 10.3 wire inspections, we have numerous installations and requests, so we'll do a motion to accept an accompanying order by Council Noon, seconded by Council Mercia. All those in favor say aye, opposed, motion passes. 11 petitions, one property damage claim, motion to refer to Law Department for a report recommendation by Council Gittia, seconded by Council Chow. All those in favor say aye, opposed, motion passes. And Section 12, City Council Executive Session 12.1, to consider and discuss potential tax increment exemption agreement with New England Heritage Properties, public discussion which could have detrimental effect on the city's position. The motion to enter executive session and to adjourn from that session by Council Yam, seconded by Council Scott. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yam.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Chow. Council Dakota. Council Gitchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Any announcements? You're done, Hall.